Love lives here.
Okay. We're going to talk about a drowning man this morning. You probably have heard it before, but I'm going to tell it to you again. A fellow was stuck on the rooftop in a flood. He was praying to God for help. Soon he was still up there, a rowboat came by, and they shouted, "Hey, jump in, and I can save you." So the stranded man shouted back, "No, it's okay. I'm praying to God, and he's going to save me." So the next thing that came by, because the rowboat went on, then the next thing came by was a motorboat. And so the fellow in the motorboat shouted, "Jump in, I can save you," to this stranded man. And he said, "No, thanks. I'm praying to God, and God is going to save me. I have faith that this is going to happen." So the motorboat went on. Then a helicopter came by, and the pilot shouted, "Grab this rope, and I'll give you a lift up to safety." So the stranded man said, "No, thanks. I'm praying to God, and he's going to save me. I have faith." So guess what the helicopter did? It flew away. Soon the water rose to the rooftop, and the man drowned. He went to heaven. He finally got a chance to discuss this whole situation with God. And at this point, he exclaimed, "I had faith in you, but you didn't save me. You let me down." And the God said, "I sent you a rowboat, I sent you a motorboat, and I sent you a helicopter. What more do you expect?" So the talk title today is "Do Something." So one of the major points in our teaching is that we have the power of choice, and that power is governed by no one else but ourselves. We know that at the level of our awareness, we can analyze a situation, we can dissect it, like the man was doing on the roof, and then we can select to move in the way we wish to move, right? Right. So this week in the practitioner perspective, I don't know if you received it. I think you did. But if you read it, Daryl wrote about conscious activism. And he talked about treat and move your feet. Do something. So the man on the roof, he was treating, but he failed to move his feet. The call to action that emanates from the subconscious mind, it causes a chemical reaction in our brain. It enables us to know what we know about who we are and how we fit in this greater universal consciousness. And we call the creative process. The creative process that we talk about is that if we don't like where we are and we don't like the situation, we can decide to choose something else. Our entire life is based on this movement. Our teaching is based on this movement and this saying by Ernest Holmes that says, "We fall forward in evolution." So in the last 2 weeks of this topic, I was like, okay, where do I go with this do something? So I was talking to a lot of people, and they were talking about, how uncomfortable they are beginning to feel in some conversations and in some situations that they find themselves in. We have this election coming up, and there's all kinds of chatter around, and people are beginning to feel a little uncomfortable about what's being put it out there. We are bombarded every day, all day with messages on social media, on the news, just everywhere. We see reports everywhere. We get news, in real time these days. And as a practitioner, minister, or spiritual being, we go into prayer to gain a greater awareness of what's happening. But we can go into prayer, which is great. That's what we do. But we also have to take steps. We also have to move our feet. We can't be like the man in the boat praying and praying, but not moving or taking advantage of the opportunities or the little gleams that Spirit is giving us. You know, that still small voice that we hear. So we have to move our feet. And our tendency may be to sit back and observe the situation, what's going on, and complain. And I say that because there was a whole movement by this minister that had these little bands that said a complaint-free world. And if you decided to take on the challenge, you would have to wear the band, and then if you found yourself complaining, you'd have to change it to the other wrist and start all over. And I can recall I was doing it, and I was like at day 5. Ooh, I was doing really good. And then I found myself complaining. And I was like, I have to start all over. So you know what I did? I just gave it up altogether. I can't do this. Because the tendency to complain is comfortable. You know, I could sit back in my chair, my easy chair, and look at the news or look at what's going on out there and just have myself a good old, I can get some popcorn and just have a party of complaining. So our tendency might be to sit back and observe and to complain about a situation. We know we want something different to happen. However, we refuse to act upon what we're thinking. So there was a song by Matthew West called Do Something, and it correlates with the talk today. It says, we see our world in trouble. We might be thinking thoughts like, how did we get here? And how is it ever going to turn around? When we look at the state of things, we see poverty in the world. We see children being abused and sold into slavery. We see drug abuse. There's a big fentanyl, abuse right now, and people are losing their lives over it. We see social injustice. We see war. There's poverty, especially, there's poverty here, but we live in an abundant world because we can look out and see how abundant we are. And we have plenty of resources. There's infinite possibilities and infinite resources out there, but sometimes we don't take advantage of it. So we have the resources in our community and in our country. Now, Gandhi said, you can sit back on your laurels, but he's quoted to say, be the change that you want to see in the world. But based on some research that I did, it says in a 1913 journal article that Gandhi wrote for the Indian Opinion, the passage was about the interconnectedness of the internal and external world, and how changing oneself, by taking responsibility and changing ourselves, we can change the world around us. And then it went on to say, a Brooklyn teacher wrote, we as people should take responsibility for making the world a better place by focusing on our beliefs and our actions, rather than waiting for others to do so. We have to do something. And then I was looking at the Democratic National Convention, and Michelle Obama said, no, it's all up to us, all of us, to be the solution we seek. It is up to all of us to be the antidote to all darkness and division. Now, Reverend Jeffrey and I go to this clergy meeting once a month on a Thursday. And this particular Thursday that just passed, there was Family Promise of Riverside that came, the executive director of that. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Family Promise, but it is a national organization. I think it was started in New Jersey. And they go out and they see how houselessness looks like in the communities, and then they take steps to get affiliates and join in with the community and try to get the houseless people housed. And they do this with a lot of love and compassion. So the lady that came, her name is Claire, and she spoke about the unhoused mothers and the new mothers. Did you know that there are new mothers being released from the hospital? with their newborn babies, and they have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go. And that there are children that we may not see because the parents hide them. That way, social services don't get wind of the situation and come and take the children away. There's a lot of things going on out there. And so what she talked about that, and she talked about having a reliable place for these people to go, these mothers to go. And then she also talked about winter is approaching, and there's a need for warmer clothing and coats. But she also talked about hope and her love, and love of this community and love of its people, and the opportunity that we have to support and love in our communities. So to stand up, not just for our basic freedoms, but to stand up for our basic freedoms and people having exactly what they need. She talked about humanity, a right to have basic respect, dignity, and empathy, and the value, and those are the values in our foundation that we should have. If we want things to change, we have to say it a little louder. If we want things to change, we have to. So we might be turning into heaven and saying, God, please help us. What are you doing? How could this happen? Why did you let this happen, God? And God says, I sent you. I sent you. You are the feet, the hands, the voice, the minds. You are the embodiment. You are the individualized expression of me, the one, that omnipotent, omniscient, omnipotent that Daryl talked about. I created you. So, if not for us, then who? If not for me, then who? If not for us, then who? So right now, it's time for us to do something, because we are the ones that we've been waiting for. It's within us. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. So if we don't want to see pain in the world, if we don't want to see suffering in the world, if we don't want to see poverty, addiction, war, all of it, then it's up to us to make the changes necessary to dispel all of that. And it starts one person at a time. So when we're making our decisions to move our feet, to treat and then move our feet, we have to also know that it's up to us to do something. In our culture, we understand our values. We understand that we were born into certain systems, right? Certain cultures, certain ways of thinking. And we talked about that before. That was the cycle of socialization. We've been socialized to believe and to act a certain way. And then something happens and it shakes us up and we wonder, why do I even think like this? Why am I doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results? That can't happen. So they said, Einstein said that that's the definition of insanity. So now we talk about, how do we get there? We have a dialogue with people that are like us and people who support us. But we also need to have a dialogue with people, and I don't like the word other or different, but people that may not think like us. But in order to gain a better understanding of the person or the community and to build a relationship, we have to start talking. And so what do we need to do? We need to wake up. We need to get ready. We need to reach out, build our community, and we need to create change, and then we need to be responsible for maintaining that change. And I know that change can be difficult, and it takes courage. You know, I don't want to be the only one at the table having this conversation, and everybody else don't quite agree with what I'm saying. But still, it's up to me to have the conversation. And I'm not saying that I need to change you how you think, but at least hear me and what I think. Hear the other person, and then we can come to some common ground. And I'm not saying we could say, well, let's agree to disagree. Because that's kind of like a spiritual bypass. That means you don't want to work on it. We'll just agree to disagree today, girl. No. Let's have some dialogue. Because what I know for sure is I might not know what you're going through. You might not know what I'm going through and how I got here. But if we dialogue, then I can better understand the person and they can better understand me. So change is hard, messy, uncomfortable. And because we want to immediately stop that discomfort, we end up avoiding the real hard work. And it's a liking to running a marathon or running. So we get out there and we say, okay, I'm going to run today. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do my thing. And I'm going to get out there and I'm going to run. And then the next day, ooh, I don't think I'm going to do it today. But we have to face the pain and the discomfort and all of that in order to get to the other side of it. And the truth is, it does take courage. It does take courage. But remember, you are the one you've been waiting for. You are the individual as expression of spirit. And Ann Richards is quoted to say, I want to urge you to make waves. I want to urge you to rock the boat. I want to urge you to get off your, duff. I want you to speak out at whatever cost. If it comes from your heart, so we can build a better world for all of us, our children, our grandchildren. We can build a better world. And so thank you. We can go to our tables now. Okay, so for our final wrap up, it says, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreams. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are the mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, songs of great vision. We are sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We are seekers of truth and keepers of faith, markers of peace, wisdom of the ages. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God made manifest. If not for us, then who? If not for me, if not me and you, it's not enough to do nothing. It's time for us to do something. It's time for us to do something. We are the ones. And this was a song by Sweet Honey in the Rock. And those are the lyrics. And in the words of Kamala Harris's mother, don't just sit around and complain. Do something. Thank you. And so I just invite you to join me in consciousness as we just deepening ourselves into this one mind, this one body, this one life, that we are living God's life. And that life demands so much from us. It demands us to be present. It demands us to live out loud. It demands us to be that living, breathing, walking expression of it. This is the only way that, we make the world better, is that we be our authentic self, that we deepen ourselves more and more into spirit. And we allow that spirit to rise up and be our voices in this world. And so we take right action and we do something. We do something because it is the right thing to do. We do something because we know that the spirit that we are embodying is absolute love. It is absolute love and it is absolute power. And so we wrap ourselves in that truth. And we are safe and protected. Divine truth is that spark of who we are. We trust it. We love it. We give it. We are it. And so we say our affirmation together. Today, I take right action and do something. Let's say it again a little bit louder. Today, I take right action and do something. Thank you very much. And now let's say our closing. And I ask that the practitioners and we ask that the core council stand. And that we know that our words have power. We know that our actions have power. We spread our love and our actions into this universe, into this community, into our nation. And we live from that place of truth and knowing that we are the activity of spirit. And so we say this together. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called love. Love is in my mind. Love is in my body. Love is in everything that I do. I am it. I share it. I receive it. And I move love forward because love lives here. Happy Sunday, everyone.